Hello friends, welcome back. I know it's been a minute, but I'm getting there. So I'm making something very special today and I thought, oh my gosh, I can share it with you guys. So I have to turn the camera off and then restart it to flip it because I'm using my phone today. So hold on one second and I'll show you. So today I am making homemade sauerkraut with organic purple cabbage. So how I'm going to do this, I'm starting off with 4 heads. These are fairly large heads of purple cabbage. I get organic, locally grown and bought, and I'm chopping it up into, I don't know, maybe a 1 by 1 piece. I'm just rough chopping it. I'm putting it in the food processor. And then once it's done in the food processor, I'm going to pulse it a few times. And then I'm putting it in a large bowl. Now, this is a little small for what I'd prefer for sauerkraut. So in this next batch, I'm going to make sure that I don't pulse it as much. So I'm going to go ahead and finish processing these 4 heads of cabbage and putting them in here. And then once I get back everything into the bowl, I will start the video again and show you what's next. So the next step after I took it from the processor and put it in here, I had to get my roaster out. They were 2 really large heads of cabbage. This is the 2 heads of cabbage. I've added 3 tablespoons of this pink Himalayan sea salt. Well, it's not sea salt, just pink Himalayan salt. And what you want to do now is massage it, and you can see it's starting to shine. The salt is pulling moisture out of the cabbage, and this is what will ferment your cabbage and develop those really good belly beneficial probiotics. And you want to do this, you're going to get a workout. You want to do this for a good 10 minutes to massage all of it. So up next, what happens after the massaging? So after we've done the massaging of the cabbage in here, I used a jar filler. These are 1/2 gallon jars. And out of those 2 large heads of cabbage, I've gotten a 1/2 gallon jar and then another like a quart or 2 quarts. So in here, I don't know if you can see, there's some juice starting. You can see it right there at the bottom. That's what you want. So you can seal this a couple of different ways. I'm going to use clean extra. These are the outer leaves of the cabbage. And when you do this, you want to put it on top and you want to make sure, you want to make sure that none of your cabbage, your sauerkraut, is showing on the inside, because if it gets exposed to oxygen, it will mold very quickly. So what I'm doing is putting these cabbage leaves in here and the juice is coming up, and that's what you want. You want to protect your sauerkraut in the bottom. So I'm just going to put this over the top, and it's very, very full. And from here, I would either use something, you can find some flat stones like this outside. If it would fit, this one won't fit. And you could put a stone on top of your cabbage leaves. But what I have is this handy dandy little thing. It's for canning. So what I'm gonna do is push this down. It's got the grate on it, if you can see that, to push down on the leaves. And actually, I think I need to take this little doodad off so that it can breathe. Push this down, and this acts like a weight for your jar, and then you're set to go. I leave these sit out on the counter to cure and ferment for at least 7 days, and then I will test it, and it should start to taste a little bit sour after a few days. You can leave it for as long as you want, and it'll just keep getting sour and sour. But after it's reached the point that you think it tastes okay, you want to put it in your fridge, and then it'll keep for 10 days, 2 weeks. Since it's fermented, it will keep. And just like that, out of those 4 large heads of cabbage, I have 3 1/2 gallons of sauerkraut. And I don't know if you can see, go away fly, there is liquid in the top of these jars. This is what you want. It's called brine, and you want all of the cabbage to be submerged in the brine because that will keep oxygen to a minimum. And the lack of oxygen is what creates the process of fermentation. Now, as I said, and I showed in the video earlier, there are cabbage leaves across the top, and then that spring coil, and then the fermentation lid. These I will leave sit on the counter. Depending on the time of year and the temperature of where you want to leave them, I'm going to put them in the kitchen. If it's warmer, they could ferment faster. If it's cooler, they might ferment slower. It just depends on the temperature that you keep your house and what it is, you know, the ambient temperature of the environment that you have them in. If you're doing a larger amount like this, it will take a little bit longer, but if you're just going to do a couple of quarts, it could be done in a few days. I let these ferment for at least 5 days. You want to taste them after 5 days and see if they should begin to soften. That's what the salt does. It starts to break the fibers of the cabbage down. And then it should have a pleasant, anyone who eats sauerkraut knows what sauerkraut tastes like, a pleasant, not necessarily pungent, but sour flavor. I have a few notes that I want to go over before we end the video. What you're doing with the fermentation process is developing it's a hugely beneficial bacteria called lactobacillus. And this actually helps with gut health and to support your immune system. And I use purple cabbage because it doesn't bother my belly the way regular green cabbage does. So we use purple, and it's pretty to look at, and it tastes the same. It just doesn't bother my belly. You want to keep, like I said, you want to keep the cabbage completely submerged in this brine. So you want to make sure that you have some liquid at the top. You may not have as much as I do, or you may have more. As long as everything's submerged, you should be good to go. You want to, and the way you develop this liquid is when you're massaging it in your bowl or whatever vessel you're using, it'll start to develop then. When you start to squeeze it, and you don't want to like really squeeze it, but you just want to massage it, and that liquid will start to develop in your bowl, that's when you know it's working. You're actually creating an anaerobic environment by putting a lid on, or using those rocks or something. You want something like with these, it has a vent to let the CO2 out, the carbon dioxide out that it's creating with the fermentation process, but you don't want to allow oxygen in, because oxygen is what's going to create the situation that potentially mold could grow and your sauerkraut will spoil. Some other things to look for if your cabbage is spoiling, any visible signs of mold, it's a no-go. You want to throw it out and start over. If your sauerkraut starts to smell a little off, or definitely putrid, you don't want to use it. You want to throw it out and start over. To make sure that the fermentation process is started, you want to look for foaming and bubbles. Now this is just from me packing it. This isn't bubbling yet from fermentation. Once the bubbling and the foaming start, you'll know that fermentation has started. And from that point, I would go 2 to 3 days extra before you taste it. Once that happens, you can let it ferment for as long as you want. Like I said, don't taste it before 5 days. At 5 days, if it's sour enough for you, you can put it in the fridge and go ahead and enjoy it. If you'd like it a little bit more sour, go ahead and put your lid back on. Make sure you cover up all of your cabbage again, push it all back down, and then let it ferment for a few more days or a week. It's up to you. It's a personal thing. And it's so extremely healthy. And for not so much effort, for a little bit of effort, I've got 1.5 gallons of homemade, very healthy and beneficial sauerkraut. So I'm going to end the vlog here. Leave us a comment below if you have questions, or if you want to learn how to make anything else fermented, or if you want to have more videos like this. Let us know what you want to see. Till next time, see you soon. Bye-bye.